One night many years ago, I was listening to this one song from ABBA's album Voulez-vous, and I was shattered as for the very first time I really listened to the lyrical content and realized the devastation that is set upon a most joyful composition. The song is called If It Wasn't for the Nights. You voted it as your number one song of the week, and this is the song's story. Last week's Song of the Week is this week's Song of the Week. Since our voting last week, we've had some ABBA news in between: the release of a new Chess Broadway cast album co-produced by Benny, the release of a new Dolby Atmos mix by ABBA for their song Fernando. But now we are back with Song of the Week. You decided for If It Wasn't for the Nights, and the voting was never as close as this time. 33% for Knowing Me, Knowing You, beaten by just 1%, 34% for If It Wasn't for the Nights, our winning song of the week. Thank you to everyone for your votes. So, it seems we finally have given justice to a song that many consider to be that lost single by ABBA. Let's take a look at the recording session, music, lyrics, and legacy of this song. If It Wasn't for the Nights was recorded at the end of October 1978. It has Benny Andersson on keyboards, Janne Schaffer on guitar, Mike Watson on bass, Ola Brankert on drums, and Malando Gassama on percussion. The horn and string overdubs were arranged by Anders Elias, and the working title for the song was Pandemonium. The track sheet, as a joke, says, if it wasn't for the nights, it would be for something else. The music for this song I can only describe as gorgeous, splendid, absolutely joyfully thrilling. And the music of this song is set in major keys, happy mood. And that's where the secret to its irresistible ABBA qualities comes from. This combination and incredible juxtaposition with the darkness of its lyrics. Björn in this song writes about one of his trademark perspectives, that of the protagonist being employed as an office worker. It's a daily routine, everyday life. I got appointments, work I have to do, keeping me so busy all the day through. I got my business to help me through the day, people I must write to, bills I must pay. But everything is so different when the night's on its way. The song is about divorce, about being lonely, feeling this solitude at night. The inspiration came from Björn's very own personal, tumbling development of his relationship with Agneta. Björn said, those lyrics were written during a period when I was feeling really depressed. I was down as hell. I'm sure it was something that hit me on a lonely night. Listening to these lyrics is such a stark contrast to the joy of the music when it comes especially to those lines in the chorus about those nights. It's devastating. Somehow I'd be doing all right if it wasn't for the nights. If it wasn't for the nights, I think that I could make it. Then there is one line really intriguing. Even I could see a light, some form of hope, that is shattered in the very same line. Even I could see a light if it wasn't for the nights. I said it in my top 10 discussion. There are even kind of foreshadowing lyrics to some of ABBA's last songs, like An Angel Passing Through My Room or One of Us. How I feel the time when shadows start to fall, sitting here alone and staring at the wall. And again, this ambiguity in these lyrics of this song, in these fears, it doesn't have to be about lost love. It can be about fear of those lonely nights, fear of loneliness in and of itself. But then the music of this song is so full of joy, of spirit, The joint lead vocals are such a strong force, and this song just makes you feel so good despite the anxiety, despite the fear in its lyrics. And that music gives you so much optimism and hope, and it just goes on for 5 minutes. And I never felt this song was too long. I like how ABBA take their time with this song and give you more and more of this irresistible dose of hope against fears. And that's my number 9, If It Wasn't for the Nights. It's interesting that the song's story is really based on Björn and Agneta on their way out as a couple. This very pair happens to be the two ABBA members from whom we have big praise for this song. According to the book The Complete Recording Sessions, Björn is still very satisfied with the song. He said, "I remember that we worked a lot on the way the girls sang the chorus. It was crucial that they hit the notes in a certain way, or it would have ended up a much stiffer track." In May 1979, for an Australian radio show celebrating the release of Voulez-vous, there was a telephone interview by ABBA with Ray McGregor. This was released as a promo LP in Australia by RCA. And here's Agneta talking about this song, If It Wasn't for the Nights, and singling it out as one of her favorites.
If there were a couple of tracks that you'd point to as being particular favorites or ones you'd like to bring to listeners' attention, what would they be?
Yeah. Then I would take If It Wasn't for the Night, because I've been liking that all the time since we did it. And I think, I don't know what it is, but it's a feeling in that number that I like. And I also like the lyrics very much.
As interesting as the song itself are the many versions that ABBA created, the unique television performances, live recordings, and the fate and legacy of the song. If It Wasn't for the Nights is the only song ever from ABBA from which we have one of those Björn and Benny humming demo tapes. We can hear Björn and Benny humming over a preliminary instrumental rough mix to demonstrate the string arrangement they have in mind. This demo was broadcast as excerpts in 1999 as part of the documentary The Winner Takes It All, the ABBA story, but the demo is nowhere to be found on the actual release on VHS or DVD. When Anders Elias demonstrates this demo tape, it was overdubbed for this home market release with the song's final version. I have really no idea where I got this audio snippet from, but apparently for the home market release, subsequent changes were made, so I strongly assume that my audio of this demo originates from an original TV broadcast of this documentary. If someone else knows the origins of this demo excerpts, please let us know in the comments below. This demo release is quite historic. That makes it even more surprising that it is not mentioned at all in the book The Complete Recording Sessions. But the many subsequent mixes and recordings are documented here and were released on home video in recent years. One of the early mixes for the song was performed by ABBA in Japan for the television special simply called ABBA Special. This early mix has less echo on the piano, lower volume of strings and slightly louder guitar and brass. It was first released on VHD and VHS in 1983 as part of the entire ABBA TV special, and in 2009 on the DVD ABBA in Japan. Presumably, this early mix was also broadcast on Japanese radio around the time of this promotional trip by ABBA. All of these circumstances and more makes it apparent that this song, If It Wasn't for the Nights, was meant to be released as ABBA's next single. We will come to that in a moment. The Next Happening also supports this theory. In December 1978, ABBA created an alternate mix of the song for UK TV with no strings and no horns. This was created for an equally beautiful playback performance on the Mike Yarwood Christmas show, and this performance and this alternate mix of the song were released in 2010 on the Voulez-vous Deluxe edition. Back to that bland single release of the song. In December 1978, Agnetha said that they were hoping to release If It Wasn't for the Nights as a single before Christmas. It never happened, and the next single would become Chiquitita in January 1979. But this was not the end of the song's fate for single release. More about that in a moment. In January 1979, Björn and Benny were also in Miami, writing and taping the album's title song, Voulez-vous, and during this session they also created a Miami re-recording of If It Wasn't for the Nights. This take remains unreleased in the archives, but is described in the book as being slightly faster than the original recording. Instead of congas, it uses shaker, Björn provides a guide vocal, and it has additional electric organ. And the re-recording is, according to the book, played in a straightforward manner, but this electric organ does make a lot of improvisation throughout this take of the song. In 1979, ABBA decided to make If It Wasn't for the Nights part of their live set for their tour of the United States and Europe. And through vintage TV news reports, we are actually treated to no less than 3 snippets of actual live performances of the song from Edmonton, San Francisco, and Zurich in Switzerland.
And so ABBA appears to be adding America to their list of conquests.
In 1980, a 30-minute documentary was created documenting ABBA's final tour of Japan in 1980, and on this documentary, on this DVD, we can find, amongst several performances, a final snippet of ABBA's stage performance of this song, overdubbed with the song's studio recording, but giving us rare insights into how the song was performed on stage. In 1980, the song became the B-side to Super Trooper in Japan, and also in Japan in 1981, If It Wasn't for the Nights was featured as part of the promo LP Slipping Through My Fingers. In 2012, it became the B-side to a Record Store Day 12-inch single release of the Voulez-vous extended dance remix. Finally, in 2014, ABBA released Live at Wembley Arena, and for the very first time ever, an entire ABBA concert was released at all and on record. This was also very special for If It Wasn't for the Nights. When the song comes as the third track, If It Wasn't for the Nights was the first time in decades that we could listen to a song that was never released as a live version before. It's a very special song. These are all very special recordings, versions and performances. And somehow the legacy and love for this song lives on and is very strong. It became our Song of the Week in a poll of 4 strong songs from ABBA's back catalogue. It was voted just slightly above as your favorite track. So let me know in the comments below what makes If It Wasn't for the Nights so special for you. What do you think of the song, the performances and versions? I hope you enjoyed today's deep dive into one of those lost singles, but one of those really appreciated deep cuts in ABBA's legacy. Let me know your thoughts and feelings in the comments below. Alright, until then, hey do!